Nietzsche begins his final book, Behold the Man, by telling us he might be a ghost. Why would a philosopher, on the verge of delivering what he calls the most difficult demand ever made of humanity, begin by questioning his own existence? The answer is not in his psychology. It is in the architecture of this preface. This opening is an emergency flare, shot up to signal a catastrophe. The catastrophe is that all of his previous books, Zarathustra, Beyond Good and Evil, have failed. Not as philosophy, but as communication. He begins with the stakes.
In the expectation that soon I will have to confront humanity with the most difficult demand it has ever faced, it seems imperative for me to say who I am.
This isn't an introduction. It's a declaration of a state of emergency. The imperative, the necessity to say who I am, arises from a fundamental crisis. He continues.
But the discrepancy between the greatness of my task and the smallness of my contemporaries is apparent from the fact that people have not listened or even looked at me.
The problem is one of scale. A great task has met a small age. And this isn't an abstract complaint. This discrepancy has real ontological consequences. It threatens to erase him. Watch how the argument unfolds dramatically.
I am living off my own credit. Perhaps it is just a prejudice that I am living at all.
Stop there. Living off my own credit. He is not talking about money. He is talking about value itself. In a world where value is determined by public opinion, by the market, Nietzsche declares his value is self-generated. It is a debt he owes only to himself. This is the master morality condensed into a single economic metaphor. But this self-valuation is so radical, so alien to his time, that it leads him to a terrifying question. If no one else recognizes this value, does the valuer even exist? Is he just a prejudice he holds about himself? And he gives us the dramatic proof. He stages a small scene for us. The setting, the upper Engadine, high, thin, pure air, the philosopher's solitude. And into this space walks an intruder.
I only need to speak with some educated person who happens to be in Upper Engadine for the summer to convince myself that I am not alive.
Who is the agent of this philosophical death? Who has the power to make Nietzsche a ghost? Not a tyrant, not a censor. It is the educated person. Notice the scare quotes. This is Nietzsche's stage direction. The representative of modern culture, the tourist of ideas, is the one whose incomprehension is so total, so absolute, that his very presence negates the philosopher's reality. The smallness of the contemporary isn't a passive quality. It's an active, annihilating force. That ellipsis in the text, that is the pause of despair, the moment of erasure. What can be done? This is where the entire preface turns. Faced with non-existence, he makes a choice. He must counterattack. But this requires a sacrifice.
Under these circumstances, it is a duty, although one that my habits and especially the pride of my instincts rebel against at a basic level, to say.
He shows us the internal struggle, the pride of his instincts, the aristocratic soul's demand for silence, for distance, for being understood by one's peers, or not at all. Rebels. But his duty to his task, to this most difficult demand, forces his hand. He must sacrifice his pride to fulfill his mission. He must descend from the heights and shout. And what he shouts is the solution to his own non-existence.
Listen to me. I am the one who I am. Above all, do not mistake me for anyone else.
This isn't a request, it's a command. And look at its structure. It is not one command, but three. A trinity of self-assertion that is the architectural key to this entire book. First, listen to me. A command for reception, breaking the silence. Second, I am the one who I am. A declaration of self, grounded identity. Third, Above all, do not mistake me for anyone else, a warning against the very misinterpretation that has rendered him a ghost. But that second command, Ich bin der Ich bin, I am the one who I am. Does that sound familiar? It should. It is a direct, shocking, and deliberate echo of the divine name revealed to Moses at the burning bush in Exodus. I am that I am. Why would Nietzsche, the self-proclaimed Antichrist, use the foundational formula of the Judeo-Christian God? He is not claiming to be God. He is appropriating the power of self-creation. In a world after the death of God, where there is no external source of being or value, the highest individual must become his own ground. He must learn to say, I am, with the same force as a God. He must create his own reality against a world that would deny it. So this preface isn't an introduction. It's a weapon. It's an act of war against misinterpretation, designed to arm us, his future readers, against the errors of the past. The entire book that follows is the answer to that final, desperate command. Do not mistake me for anyone else. Nietzsche has moved from being a ghost, erased by the educated world, to seizing his own reality through an act of will. He has told us who he is. Now, he will show us how he became that person.